Wage workers and union yanks. Put on your shockingest balance sheet. Give the camera a taste of your good supply side. And a free recession in this economy? You'd be losing money not to have a recession.
Shut up and take my money. It's time to talk Tull to me.
Welcome back, I'm Omen Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
Together we are Feckless Momes.
And this is Hard Times. What? This is Talk Tull to me.
A tense press conference at the central banks of prog rock, in which nominal value, Nick, and opportunity cost, Omen, will look for economic indicators in every single musical track that deregulated rock band Jethro Tull has ever released. Yes, all the way from the boom and bust of Benefit to the socialism of the zealot gene, Nick and I will set a gold standard with Glory Row, calculate the compound interest of Cold Wind to Valhalla, and measure the productivity of Pembroke. And through it all, we will depend on the absolute advantage and the flute fiscal factors of Ian Antitrust Anderson. Nick, I keep telling you that the Tull market goes up and down. You know, sometimes it's a beggar's farm bear market. Sometimes there's a sea lion backslide. But even accounting for fat man inflation, nothing is easy.
I know it's kind of controversial to some people, but I think I might invest in Clasp crypto. I think. I've got a little money floating around.
I've got nothing to say about that. Nick, welcome back. Hello.
Hello. You really tickled me on socialism.
Thank you. It was a make it work moment, as Tim Gunn would say.
It was great. Yeah.
Well, Nick, we are calf deep in the album that we are in, which is Broadsword and the Beast.
That's right. We are halfway through side A now. We are on track 3 off of side A. Very exciting.
And that track is?
That track is Fallen on Hard Times. But before we do that, let's talk a little more Broadsword, shall we?
Let's talk broadly about the sword. Yes, Nick.
I think you have some quotes from the man himself, from Brian Raby's A Passion Play.
Yes, this is from, as you said, A Passion Play, the story of Ian Anderson and Jethro Tull. Chapter 20, The Broadsword and the Beast. Just a couple little excerpts here. A was an experiment with new technology, but The Broadsword and the Beast was a storming album that combined modern with more traditional sounds, while Under Wraps furthered the electronic experiment. Unfortunately, the Broadsword Tour was the last time Tull averaged 16,000 seaters in North America. From then on, nothing would bring back the band into the public eye at the level to which they had been accustomed. With Jobson and Craney returning to their lives, the drummer's seat and keyboard position had to be filled. Jerry Conway played the drums on the album, but was replaced for the ensuing tour by ex-10cc drummer Paul Burgess. Peter John Vitesse's cherubic face peered out from behind the mountain of keyboards for both the album and the tour. His talents far exceeded his obvious youthfulness. From a strictly quality-driven standpoint, Broadsword was vintage Tull in all its glory.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
And just a little quote from Mr. Ian Anderson about the album. For some reason, that album, although not popular in the U.S., was very popular in Germany.
Yeah, I read that.
We didn't have a keyboard player at the beginning, so I did the first tracks. Peter Vitesse came in later and finished things up. But that album was done in a slightly different way, in that I joined in on the backing tracks. That made for a band feeling, a live situation, and I think it is reflected in the quality of the material.
And I just want to piggyback on that, actually. I do have a little quote about the fact that it boomed in Germany as well. It was their most successful album in Germany, bombed in the States, and Ian says, it's not like it was just as simple as the fact that Americans didn't like the sound of these songs. It had to do with a lot of the realities of the music business.
Oh, interesting.
The change in American radio, even the move from radio into MTV, which didn't work terribly well for Jethro Tull.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that, yeah. let's keep all that in mind.
Yeah.
As we dive in to talking about track number 3 off of Broadsword and the Beast, Fallen on Hard Times.
Indeed, here we fall.
Nick, there we have Fallen on Hard Times. A topic which you maybe would say, based on our conversation last week, is evergreen.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was actually just writing that in my notes. This has, just in terms of relation to last week, this kind of, it's not the same concept really at all, but it's kind of a bit of a negative connotation like last week's did. You know, he's kind of hitting the dumps here in terms of depressing content.
Or depression content.
Yeah, right. Fair enough.
Well, let's talk about the track musically first.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
Amazing, wonderful, lovely, delicious acoustic guitar at the very top. One of the first sounds that we hear.
Yep. And some really great plinky mando again.
Yes.
I did not know how much mando there was in this album. It does not come through when I listen to it very quietly on the vinyl.
It's like saffron. It gives an effect to the dish, but if you don't know it's there, you wouldn't be like, oh, such a bold saffron flavor.
Yeah.
It helps to meld together the other flavors.
It's the background and it acts as the canvas, you know, everything else is built on top of it.
It's the thread that ties together the various other sounds.
Yeah.
The mandolin thread.
But when you do hear it, like when I heard it with
Delightful.
these really good headphones, boy, it's so good. It's so scrummy.
Yeah, it is.
As they say.
We have a lovely flute frenzy starting in the beginning.
Yep.
Which is a wonderful balance between being kind of on flute overdrive, if you will, sound-wise, but also sticking very distinctly to the melody.
Right. Jerry Conway's drums in this are it's got a very industrial feel. The sound is really starting to be, without being the over-the-top synth 80s sound that we heard last album, it's starting to get a real 80s sound to me.
Yeah, it is. It really
overall,
is.
And I like it. I'm going to tell you, I like it.
Giving us a hard time, my friends. Counting us the same line again.
I like 80s Genesis. I like 80s Tull. I like there's something I have a fondness for this sound.
Well, I have a fondness for things from the 80s too, like you.
Oh, puddin'.
Look at that. I'm glad you said industrial. I'm going to put a flag in that.
Yes, pin it.
I pinned it. We're going to talk about it later. The keys are really, I think, I was searching around for a word to try to describe them, but actually I think industrial really does describe a lot of the sound in those first couple of verses of the keys. They're pushed, they're modulated.
Yeah.
And they have that really gritty tone, which is delightful.
Oh, dear Prime Minister, it's all such a mess.
And in a lot of moments, the keys and the mandolin are playing in unison, which is so cool.
Yeah, I was going to say, again, a kind of a dichotomous turn here compared to from going from A to this. The keyboard and the synth, it's all so well melded together, you know?
Yes.
It goes hand in hand with the rest of the instruments as opposed to being like really front and center, which makes sense why Ian was worried about it turning into the Eddie Jobson show with how forward he was during A.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say this is a more balanced sound. And
Absolutely,
really, this is one of the more balanced albums and well-mastered albums I think that we've heard in a long time. Maybe
It's really good.
there was a real benefit in bringing in someone else to do the mastering and to, not that Ian was doing a bad job, but, you know, maybe just having that outside perspective helped bring things together in a different way.
It's just like never edit your own writing. You're never going to catch everything.
I never edit anything.
Nor do you hire anyone to edit anything.
Nor do I write.
That's different altogether. Let's see, Looking for Sunshine, our third verse there, kind of a bridgy chorus thing. We get some slide guitar.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. Yeah. What do you think about that?
Looking for sunshine, oh, but it's black and it's cold. Yet you say the milk and honey is just round the bend.
I'm not sure. I don't think it's like a steel guitar, like a lap thing. It's probably just like a glass slide on Martin's finger. But It's fun. It's a great sound. It's unique. It's very classical, like old schooly classical compared to the rest of the really synthy bits, but it works great. It's good.
It's a little echo of Tull's roots in a way, going all the way back to the blues.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
I agree. I think it sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's fun. It's very fun. It's not abused. It's not overused. When it's in there, it's great and it's noticeable. Yeah.
A little before that, when we get into the "Oh Dear Prime Minister" verse, we have a change in the keyboard.
Oh, sure. Yep.
I love the image of John Peter Vitesse in this stack of different keyboards. And you can kind of hear the effect of that on the album. You know, we switch from that really like key sound to the more sweeping string-like sound paired with the arpeggios of more of something that sounds like a piano in the foreground.
Yeah, it's a little staccato, right? It's like pling, 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 pling. I think he's just he's hitting notes as opposed to like really working his way up and down the keys.
Yeah, well, I think he's maybe doing both simultaneously on
sure.
two different keyboards. So you get that combined sense of the like...
Oh, yeah. I bet that on tour, the roadies never placed PJV's keyboards too far apart that he couldn't play them.
No, I'm sure they placed them closer and closer together every night until he was trapped between them like a little piece of grass growing out of the pavement.
Just a little Jack in the Green right there. That's all.
Jack in the Green. Well, and that's funny, kind of a funny metaphor for this song. I really think that just before we get into the content at all, the sound of this album is very fun for me because it does remind me of like you have this very kind of techno modern soundscape and then you have the little mandolin breaking through the pavement. It's just so delightful.
Yeah, that works. I like that. I like that a lot.
Now, I'm curious about the quote that we heard where Ian said that he joined in on the backing tracks.
Yeah.
At first I was a little confused about what that meant. I thought that he was saying that he sang backup. But
right.
Clearly he's been doing that for ages.
Yeah, why is that remarkable?
I think what perhaps this implies is that previously the recording, and this is a supposition, as we do, but I wonder if previously the way that they would do it is Ian would record enough tracks for him to sing over and then have the band play without him to create the music track that goes along with the singing, and then come back in and play the flute.
Oh.
And maybe he was engineering while the rest of the band was playing. So maybe bringing in a dedicated sound engineer gave him the opportunity to play with the band in the recording studio, which is more what they would do, on tour, because obviously you have to, because everyone's live.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I wonder what that setup was.
That is all suppository.
Yep, that's where it goes. That's where it comes from, and that's where it goes.
But regardless, I do agree that there is more of a live feel with this album.
There's something there. There's some electricity there that I feel like we haven't felt terribly recently.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the setup with the new engineer or if it's the setup with just the new band members, so it's like fresh blood and it's exciting,
right.
But it's also not butting heads or being in competition with Eddie Jobson. I don't know, but you're right. There's a level of excitement here that really kind of pushes through this album, and it really vibes it for me. It excites me.
Yeah, it really the Tull spark is back.
Yeah, it's nice. It's very fun,
and it's falling on some very dry tinder. Oh God, there's fire everywhere.
It is wildfires
Tull fire season
Tull fire season.
is in full blown.
Full blown.
It's full blow. It's fully blown.
You mentioned briefly the backing vocals. When they come in on giving us a hard time, my friends, there's a couple layers. Oh, I love that.
Giving us a hard time, my friends. Handing us the same line again.
It's like, it's true good harmony.
It's 3 or 4 part harmony.
Yeah, it's better than Ian, like, going kind of low and going a little high, and it's more than what we're accustomed
really
to with
cool.
Ian. It's good. So this is telling me it is. I mean, who's credited for backing vocals on this? This is telling me that we probably have PJV. Peter John Vitisse has backing vocals credit on this. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah. So how many tracks is Ian? How many tracks is Peter John Vitisse? Don't know. But regardless, having that extra voice in there, that extra different person's voice in there, really does something. I think the last time we heard that, probably with Andy Giddings on something at some point in one of the bonus tracks or whatever, the last time we heard that with somewhat a unique, different person's voice, we commented on it as well, because it really does make a difference.
Wasn't there some on A?
Possibly, probably. Backing vocals on A was Dave Pegg.
Peggy.
Vocal harmonies, Dave Pegg. There it is.
Yeah, so we did have a little there, but clearly we have got some new sounds, some new vibrations.
Yeah. And how interesting. Oh, never mind. I take it back. Dave is also on backing vocals for Broadsword. So we could possibly have that could explain all of those different sounds. That's nice. Yeah. Like it.
So, Nick, we were talking about like the sound of the 80s.
Yeah.
This is a little bit of a sidebar.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, what was the kind of what was in the cultural soup of the 1980s?
The Zeitgeist.
The Zootgoost, if you will.
I won't.
And I won't. I've been told not to. So, for instance, films that came out in 1982.
Okay.
E.T.
Okay.
Beastmaster.
Okay.
Very relevant to this whole situation.
A little bit, yeah. Beastie Master, I'll take it. Sure.
Tron.
Okay, yeah. We're getting into some sci-fi, so we're getting good enough technology where the sci-fi really works and we're seeing new things.
The Dark Crystal.
Nice. Okay, great.
Which very much combines that, the fantasy with the technology, with the old, with the new. I mean, that's a great example. The Last Unicorn, an animated film.
Nice. Rankin Bass, very lovely.
Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan, classic Star Trek.
I just want to note for
Conan the Barbarian.
The Barbarian. my personal all-time favorite movie franchise, Alien, came out in 79. Aliens didn't come out until 86, so it doesn't quite fall here, unfortunately.
Not quite. Close. But I do think that there's something in the. Well, I do think that when we listen to this, we can't help but hear some of the sounds that influenced us from those times, which some of them do come from those films.
Sure. A unique flavor, a unique color palette feel to it, distinctly 80s. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Nick, anything else to say about the music of this song?
I am ready to jump into an email if you are.
Let's take a break, Nick. We're halfway there.
We have ourselves an email from a new writer inner.
Oh my gosh.
White innocence.
This came in at the beginning of April, but we were so backlogged. Now we are finally caught up. So this is from Chris. Chris writes, "Hi, Omen and Nick. I'm really enjoying this podcast to the point it might be an obsession. I've stopped listening to my audiobooks and radio and have solely been listening to Talk Tull to Me. I listened to all the new ones and am up to the end of War Child on the back catalog."
Really burning the candle at both ends.
Yeah, you're gonna meet smack in the middle, and you're just gonna be set up for disappointment.
Yeah, speaking of smack, you're going to go into heavy withdrawal.
One thing I've found is I think I've been unplugged from the Matrix. I love listening to Tull and singing along. I feel I know most of the lyrics, and each song stirs a certain emotion. Listening to you guys has brought a new understanding of the songs, not better or worse, just different, but I don't see the songs the same way anymore.
Oh no.
I'm not complaining, but something's changed. At times I feel maybe I want to be plugged in again. Anyway, keep up the good work. I must be evolving as a Tull skull.
Well, what I always say is, if it stops working, unplug it and plug it back in again.
That's it. That's IT 101. And finally, Chris wraps up. My poll question is, rate your favorite Tull musicians. Let's do this in real time, Omen. Not by talent, but by your favorite in enjoyment. Tull bass player.
Oh my gosh, so much pressure. I think I have to go with Glasscock just because
Absolutely.
the level of, I feel like he connected to the mysteries of the bass deeper than anyone else.
Yeah. Close second being Jeffrey. Just because he's so cute.
Okay, drummer, go.
Drummer. Oh gosh. Barry, probably. Barry's damn good.
Barlow, Mr. Barlow.
Yeah. I think, I mean, it might change, but he's the one that, as a Tull drummer, as the Tull drummer, he's the one that comes to mind for me.
Sure.
He
He brings
really
the
is.
playfulness, the precision, all of it.
Yeah.
Power.
Yeah. Keyboardist.
I'm really enjoying PJV.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying Peter Van Vess.
Van
Peter
Jones?
John Van Ness.
You'll never get it.
John Peter Van Ness.
John,
Vess?
Peter John Vatisse.
Peter John Batiste. But in terms of personality, I have to go with the Ice Cream Man.
Absolutely. John Evans.
John
Absolutely. 100%. Yep.
Just because the videos that we've seen, he's just on another planet. Okay.
Absolutely.
Weird
yeah.
one. This is going to be odd for you. Favorite Tull claghorn player?
I mean, Ian brings so much to the claghorn that
does.
it's
But-
difficult not to choose him, but I
Yeah.
will. He's a dark horse coming up from behind. I'm gonna have to go with Ian.
He's great. Perfect. I would go with Mellotron.
favorite mystery player in the band, Mellotron.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chris, for that lovely email and for writing in and for obsessing over the silly things that we do.
Greatly appreciated.
And thank you for writing in. It's delightful to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you so much. As always, anyone can write in, momes@fecklessmomes.com, or you can hop into the Feckless Momes website, fecklessmomes.com, and find the Contact Us form right on the front page.
That's true. Nick, are we ready to jump back into the main portion of the show and talk about lyrics?
Lyrics. Yes, I think that we ought to do that. Let's talk lyrics.
Oh, Nick, welcome back to the regular part of the show.
Here we are, part 2.
You look refreshed.
Thank you. I took a mud bath, I had a colonic, and a martini. I don't remember which I drank and which went in me, but...
Yes.
It's,
I had a colonic.
Oh, God. Oh,
I smell amazing down there.
No wonder it stings.
So, Nick, this is a really... If you had to put this song in a box,
Okay.
and I don't recommend you do,
Okay.
but if you had to, what file folder would you put this song into?
I mean, probably Broadsword and the Beast.
Yeah. Uh-huh. But in
Okay.
terms of topics...
Oh, yes. Okay. Like if we've talked about Tull, like file folders before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I think this would fall under slightly topical, like evergreen topical.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Ian as a narrator telling us a very distinct, like, specific story.
That's true. That's true. It's not a love song.
It's not a love song. I think it could fit, I don't know, I think it could fit fairly comfortably with some of the stuff off of Stormwatch,
Yeah.
because that's topical, but it's not terribly specific, and it's a little doom and gloom.
Yeah, I was going to offer observation / critique of social change.
perfect for Stormwatch. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
I like
it totally
it, yeah.
is. And I think we have a little bit of a Stormwatch hangover on this album.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think there was stuff that Ian did not resolve by the end of Stormwatch, couldn't get to it in A for reasons of Eddie Jobson or planning for it to be a solo album. You know, it couldn't be a continuation for any number of reasons. So this is that next logical step. And sonically, it works too.
Yes, it certainly does. I also think that I want to preface all of this by saying that we are going to get a lot of the following couple of minutes wrong because we weren't alive in the early 80s and
Fact. Yep.
we didn't study the economics of the transatlantic economies in the early 80s, late 70s. But I am aware that the early 80s and the 80s in general was a time of extremely volatile economic changes in the United Kingdom. We are in the years of Thatcher.
Okay.
We are in the years of Reagan in the U.S.,
Okay.
who, we sometimes talk about Reaganomics.
Trickle down. Everybody trickle down.
Everybody do that trickle down, 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 down. Right, trickle down economics, for anyone who has been under a rock for the last 100 years, is the idea that you give money to the rich and it trickles down into the economy and helps everyone.
Right. That makes sense. Thank you.
As it turns out, the rich don't do so much trickling. It's more hoard at the top.
Yeah. Do I need another $200,000? No, but I don't want you to have it.
Right.
So I'll take it. Thanks.
One of the things that was happening in the UK was that there was rising inflation.
Okay.
Sound familiar?
I'm feeling it. Yeah.
And one of the things the government in England was trying to do was control the inflation by doing things like raising interest rates,
Which is also happening. Yeah.
cutting other social policies, and all of this combined to hit the manufacturing industry very hard, which caused the loss of over 3 million jobs. Or rather, it caused unemployment to rise to around 3 million, which
3 million Eddie Jobsons, actually.
Eddie Jobson lost 3 million jobs. His hiring and application process was a blur.
Including being the violin player and keyboardist for Jethro Tull.
That was how it all started.
That's it, yeah. It trickled down from there.
Right. So, Ian is somebody that we know is a very aware person of what's going on around him in society.
Yeah.
Very well read. He said to us in an email that he reads all the newspapers every day. I assume he's been doing that for a long time. So he would be very aware of all the policies, all the changes in politics that were happening, and would be very aware also of the effect across the country because he was traveling across it all of the time and sitting in trains and overhearing people talk.
Yeah.
So I think that in a way, Ian probably was more connected to what was going on in the US and in England than some of the politicians were.
I'm sure, yeah.
I know that's a haute talk.
It was something that he was interested in. It was something that he immersed himself in. I don't think it's that absurd to think.
At this early time in the day, I think it's really absurd to think. It's my day off.
You made me get on this call.
But also, I think that for anyone who says that economics is boring or dull, I couldn't agree more. It is so boring to think about. But I try to make an effort to be aware of it because it's important and it affects every one of us.
The only thing better than a switcheroo, a change in status, is an expected change in status, but a support in status instead.
Yes. I think they call that in the industry a joke.
Yeah.
But no, I listen to the Marketplace Morning Report in the shower every morning.
You fall right to sleep.
My water bill is crazy. And I've been following, some of the efforts to cool down the inflation that we're currently experiencing. And it's
right.
That's scary. And, the factors that are at play are so massive that there's in a sense, very little that anyone could do about it. So,
I know, yeah.
But at the same time, the politicians always make a big show out of saying, well, we're going to do this and we're doing this and look at all the success we've had with this. And meanwhile, the world is falling apart around them.
Yeah, because what can a senator from Florida do when there's a war in Ukraine and
exactly
Russia, we're not doing Russian oil. Yeah.
They can talk. They can fake the clasp.
A lot. Yeah, thank you. That's exactly it. They can fake. They can pretend. They can put on that facade. Yeah.
So let's get into the specific lyrics,
Yes,
as we
yes.
probably should have done 10 minutes ago. Fallen on hard times, but it feels good to know that milk and honey's just around the bend.
Falling on hard times, but it feels good to know that milk and honey's just around the bend.
Wow. Okay. Already so much in here.
Yeah.
The land of milk and honey, of course, is a phrase that is used multiple times in the Bible, specifically and maybe earliest in the book of...
In the cookbook of Revelation.
No, it's...
First you add the milk, then a drop of honey.
I believe the first mention of it is in Exodus.
Okay.
I'm paraphrasing God's words here. So I've come to deliver them from the power of the Egyptians and bring them to the land that is good and spacious, to a land flowing with milk and honey.
Right.
So it is a description of the land of Israel, the spiritual home of the Jewish people. So there's an implication of richness and fertility, not only in a physical sense, but also it's almost an implication of spiritual richness and what is deserved.
Right. It is the paradise, and the Jews are being brought home to that as their reward. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in this case, in the song, we have the false prophets, one could say, of the politicians saying, yes, we know you're all losing your jobs. Yes, I know that bread is, 20% more expensive than it was and wages are stagnating. But if you just push through for the next couple of... and re-elect me.
Deal with it. Just deal with it. Yep.
Everything's going to be great and we're going to be in this period of prosperity.
Yeah. Either re-elect me or my term limit's up anyway, so I got my job out of it, so.
Right, exactly. And there's another reference here, running on bad lines. We better run as we go. Tear up the overdraft again.
Running on bad lines, we better run as we go. Tear up the overdraft again.
To me, that makes me think of two different things. One is that could it be that the train lines haven't been invested in, and so you're literally running on bad lines?
Okay.
Or is that you are running your business on a bad line of credit?
That's more what I think, just based on the overdraft reference.
Yeah. I think that's probably it.
The line of credit, and there's also a line of, it's Black Friday. It's where you finally make a profit in your business. There's a line where you have to meet a certain amount of income, and if not enough business is coming in, if you're paying too much for your product and can't sell it for enough, you're never going to make enough money to keep the business open. And then you have to borrow. Yeah. And then you just bury yourself in debt.
And countries do that.
Every country is buried in debt.
Country, yeah, which is confusing to me. How can every single country be in debt? Who's collecting?
Yeah, no one's collecting. It's absurd.
Now, the other thought that I had was perhaps they were talking about bad lines of cocaine.
I mean, it is the 80s.
It is the 80s, and the lines probably were not, they could have been cut with chalk.
I was going to say, is it a bad line because it's not good coke, or is it a bad line because it's kind of squiggly and it's not straight?
Because your hands are shaking from having done too much coke.
From too much coke, yeah.
I'm not sure. I've never done coke. It's a mystery.
I do just enough coke, which is no coke. That's the answer. That's just enough.
Never is too many times. Oh, dear Prime Minister, it's all such a mess. Go right ahead and pull the rotten tooth.
Oh, dear Prime Minister, it's all such a mess. Go right ahead and pull the rotten tooth.
Yep. Another bit of, I think, the land of milk and honey is just around the bend. It feels like a promise from politicians, like, oh, if we do this, if we bite the bullet, if we pull the tooth, if we get rid of healthcare, if we get rid of this or this or this,
Yeah.
we have more money to spend elsewhere. This is what's causing the problem, so let's get rid of it.
Exactly. That's been a tradition of politicians since the dawn of time, no doubt, is to scapegoat and to say, well, you know, the
Yes.
problem is really this group here. It's the other party. It's the gays. It's the unions. That's what I wonder if in this context is because I know that Thatcher was very anti-union.
Maggie, yeah.
Was that the rotten tooth?
Could be.
Well, Mr. President, you've been put to the test. Come clean for once and hit us with the truth. Very funny.
Oh, Mr. President, you've been put to the test. Come clean for once and hit us with the truth.
In an American context.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty much the same thing, you know. No president wants to deliver bad news, so it's always couched in flowery language. And regardless of what the language is, whether they're being honest or not, the unemployment numbers speak and the inflation numbers speak, and that president is not reelected, you know?
Well, and even presenting something that is truthful. I mean, I'm on the Twitter sometimes, and I saw,
how dare you?
You know, Joe Biden tweeting, you know, the last year has been the fastest drop in the unemployment rate in the history of our country or since this date. It's like,
Right.
That's true. That is a true fact. But it doesn't take into account the fact that wages have, you know, even though they're going up, they are being outstripped by inflation, that housing prices are out of control, that
Women are paid 60% less, that
exactly.
cost of living goes up and salaries do not, you know. You could say anything. My dog had puppies today. Fantastic. Your car's on fire. I mean, what are you going to do?
So, you know, the notion of truth, oh gosh, especially in this day and age is so, I feel like sometimes Ian puts on his Cassandra hat,
Oh,
puts
sure.
on his Cassandra dress,
Yeah. Yep.
does the dance of the seven veils and sees into the future for us.
And nobody believes him. Or nobody gives a shit.
Everyone is so distracted by how good he looks in the dress that they forget his predictions of the future.
I mean, that helps. That certainly helps.
But it's also, as you said, you know, this kind of cyclical thing that this song could work in so many different contexts in time.
Mm-hmm.
Giving us a hard time, my friends, handing us the same line again.
Giving us a hard time, my friends. Handing us the same line again.
Politicians always give the people the same line, no matter what's happening.
Right. As soon as they had to be elected and they weren't just in power because they killed people for it or their daddies had the power.
Or they killed their daddies for it.
Or they killed their daddies for that power. As soon as that happened, politicians started doing everything within their power to stay in power. Or continued to do everything within their power to stay in power. It's just that they had to change tack. That's all.
So, Nick, in the previous song in The Clasp, we have this kind of laying out of the darkness of the world and all the bad things, and, you know, how we all have the fear about connecting. And then we have a verse that says, but we still have to connect. It's really important. You know, it's kind of the most important thing in life. I'm struggling to find the kind of positive thing in this song. You know, the most positive thing that we have is and this is, you know, my opinion, is the fourth verse. Now they've repossessed the Rolls Royce and the mink.
Now they've repossessed the Rolls Royce and the mink.
Where the positive part of it is that it's not just the working people's getting hurt by the economic troubles, that it's also the rich being affected by it.
Okay. Really, the first couplet, falling on hard times, but it feels good to know the milk and honey's just around the bend. There's a positivity there, even though it's like, it's blinders. You're not looking at anything else. You're just kind of head down. You're like, oh, we're getting through to the good stuff.
It reminds me of the picture, the cartoon of the horse with the stick attached to its back with the carrot dangling in front of it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. Plow through it. Deal with it. You gotta.
Yeah.
There's no other way.
Tighten the belt.
I mean, that's the only positive thing that I can see, but it's couched in that, like, oh, he's just brainwashed. That's not actually good.
Well, and then when we get to the first stanza, we do get the kind of resistance to it. Somebody wake me, I've been sleeping too long. Oh, I don't have to take this lying down. You can keep your promises. Shove them where they belong. Don't ask me to the party, won't be around.
Somebody wake me, I've been sleeping too long. Oh, I don't have to take this lying down. You can keep your promises, shove them where they belong. Don't ask me till the party won't be around.
So there's the sense of standing up for oneself, or at least refusing any longer to buy into the official narrative.
Yeah.
You know what this somehow reminds me of, and I don't know if this is completely relevant, but do you know the quote from Diogenes, who is the Greek philosopher who like lived in a barrel on the street and refused to wear clothes?
Oh, yeah.
He said, "In a rich man's house, the only appropriate place to spit is in his face." You heard that?
No, I've not. That made me cackle. That's very good.
But that's kind of what this part reminds me of, this kind of center of the song. It's like a little bit of resistance of saying, look, these are real people's lives. People aren't going to be quiet about these conditions forever. At some point, the worm will turn, as we talked about last week.
It's an awareness. Yeah. And I think it's very interesting that the line starts with, "Somebody wake me. I've been sleeping too long." By virtue of saying that, he's aware. He is already awake. Right? He knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Unless the somebody wake me is like, this is all a bad dream, maybe. It's so bad, this can't be real.
I wonder if there's a sense of it like, sometimes we get desensitized to the world around us. And, the last number of years have been a good example of that, where it's like we get used to these really horrible situations and conditions. And then occasionally, I don't know about you, but sometimes I have this moment where I'm like, oh my God, this is all of this is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And then, because it's kind of too hard to deal with mentally, you go back into that I'm just going to focus on me and I'll make dinner and watch some TV.
Right, yeah.
The world falling apart around me, because otherwise it's too hard.
You go insane. Either you go insane or you become a political activist, I guess. Those are your two options if you really want to really deep dive into it.
I was telling my mother the other day that I think I found my ideal career path that I want to move into. It doesn't have anything to do with entertainment or the corporate world or anything, or carpentry. I've tried all those. I think that I really want to become a mushroom growing in the forest.
Not a mushroom farmer. You want to be a mushroom.
I want to be an expression of a vast underground mycelial network, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be a peaceful life. Nick, anything else to say about Fallen on Hard Times?
I really like the line is like the darkest line of the song. Looking for sunshine, oh, but it's black and it's cold.
Looking for sunshine, oh, but it's black and it's cold.
Well, that's just a description of England.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's all it was.
That's the weather report.
Yeah, it just.
No, I agree.
I think you really hit on a kind of an important point, that there is no positivity here. This is really, again, why it smacks of Stormwatch so much. It's really fairly doom and gloom.
It's kind of it's the I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yeah. Moment. So I'm gonna write a song about it. I'm gonna write a song with some amazing mandolin.
Yeah, exactly.
Take that, Margaret Thatcher.
I've decided to outlaw mandolins. Mandolins are the real drain on our economy. Too much labor is taken in tuning them.
The union of the mandolin players are gone.
I have too much power. Too many power chords.
Power chord on a mandolin.
Nick, what are we listening to next week?
Next week is the fourth track off of Broadsword and the Beast. It is Flying Colors.
Oh, it's going to be a doozy.
It's going to be bright and flighty. Brighty. It's going to be brighty. Until next week, the land of milk and honey is just one click away. to our Patreon page, where you can give us $5 a month to gain access to our Discord, to our additional episodes, once a month, one of Outtake Tull to Me and one of Feckless, where we talk about kind of random stuff.
And those episodes are full of milky honeys.
The honey is so milky and the milk is so honey. It's time for you to wake up. You've been asleep too long. Get up, get dressed, wear your favorite Talk Tull to Me t-shirt. There are 4 designs currently in our TeePublic page. You can find the link for that in our show notes.
Oh, Mr. President, come clean for once and hit us with the truth. The truth about what you think of this podcast. Preferably in the form of a 5-star rating and positive review.
That'd be great, yeah. Until next week, I am the sunshine that you are looking for, Nick McGill.
I am the repossessed mink Omensaid.
That was your screen name, wasn't it?
It was.
We are running on Good Lines, the Feckless Momes.
And this is Raising a Holy Stink. Talk Tull to Me.
Oh, someone's at the door. Oh, Jethro. They didn't even use the doorbell. Oh, good. Yeah. Yes?
Hello there, Mr. Piemonte. My name is Jimmy the Dog, and unfortunately, I'm here on account of your creditors, and I'm going to have to repossess some of your items that have been identified by the IRS as needing to be given to the bank, you see, to settle your debts. I'm sorry about that, sir.
I'm sure that I've been notified of this, but I had to let the maid go who reads my mail, so...
That's all right. That's all right, Mr. Piemonte. I've got a list right here.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. It's not going to be everything. It's just a couple of items. Let's see.
I hope it's nothing important.
Do you have your diamond-encrusted hairdryer?
Yes.
I'm going to need that in this box here.
No. Oh dear. All right. I was just fondling it lovingly. Here you go.
I'll wipe off the fondle, but I don't know if you're aware of this, but actually a regular hairdryer works just as well. You don't need the diamonds on it.
But it doesn't have diamonds. Goodbye, sweet one. I'll miss you.
Okay. So I've got on the list here. Let's see it. It's a $9,000 ball of yarn.
Yes.
From Tiffany's.
Yes, right. It is made from the hair of a woman named Tiffany, who worked at Tiffany's.
That's right. Yes, Tiffany of Tiffany's. Yes.
Right.
I'm gonna need that in the box, please.
But I was watching my cat play with it, and now what will Muffins play with?
You know what? Don't worry about that, because actually I'm gonna need muffins. That was the next thing on my list here.
Oh,
got one
muffins.
Senegalese trained jumping cat.
Oh,
AKA Muffins.
Muffins. Goodbye, Muffins. You were so nice to play with. I will miss you. Do let him keep the ball, if you would.
Listen, I know this is stressful. I know this is stressful for you.
It is.
Would you like a drink?
I would, yes.
Well, I'm sorry, because you're gonna have to give up your $1,800,000 liquor collection right over there, starting with the 50-year-old Glenfiddich.
Oh, not Glenn.
And you know what? I need the ice cube maker as well. I know that costs you about $7,500.
Yes, well, it's in the shape of various body parts that I had to get plaster cast molded and then shrunken down, and I could build a little skeleton out of myself in ice cubes and then drink it. Oh.
That sounds amazing, and I'm jealous and happy for your experience. Glad that you've had that time, but put the Hamaka Schlemmer ice cube maker in the box, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I do mind, but here... There you are.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I just need you to sign off on this document here. Do you mind signing this right here?
What if I don't sign?
Well, then I will have to break your legs, because that's the kind of collection agent I am. There's different types.
Yes, you're not quite the polite kind, are you? Yes.
I try to be polite, especially when I have to break the legs, because I know it makes people feel bad.
Oh, yeah, yes, it would. I suppose I'll sign it here, yes.
Do it. I'm going to keep the pen.
Oh.
because I recognize that as a Gucci exclusive.
It is.
Yes, I happen to know. Listen, I know that's a good pen, but that is going to pay off all of your daughter's college.
Oh, I thought that was paid off already.
No, you paid off. Let's see, you paid off her assault charges.
That's right.
Yes, from the Dolce & Gabbana pasta factory incident.
When she was in college, yes, that makes sense.
Yes.
Yes.
It was a $5,000 bill at the Dolce & Gabbana pasta plant.
Yes.
Over a bowl of specialty fettuccine.
Yes, I don't blame her. It's very good pasta. Yes.
No, of course. Oh my God, I've had it a couple times. One last thing. You can choose.
Dear. Oh, okay. One of the following?
Yes, one of the following. Would you
All
like
right.
to give up your private island off the coast of Madagascar? Or your prized collection of vintage Jethro Tull records that are printed on precious metals?
Well, they were going to be my desert island discs, but if I don't have a desert island, what am I going to do?
I know it's a real catch-22 situation.
It really
Listen,
is.
I tell you what, I'll make you a
Yeah.
trade.
Yes. Oh, can you do that?
Yes, I can, because I'm a not licensed repository man.
Yeah.
I'll take both of them. I'll take the
What?
island and I'll take the records. But I'll give you something more valuable than either of them combined. The most valuable thing you've ever had.
I'm intrigued. Please.
It's called a podcast.
What?
Yes. Listen to this.
Tell to me as a proud member of the Factless Moments Radio Network.
I'm in love. Take it all. I just need this.
It sounded funny because it was playing in your underpool speakers.
Oh, do I get to keep the pool?
No, goodbye!